and welcome back to Rainbow Roundtable. I'm your host, Frank Sanchez, and we're here to delve into a compelling issue facing today's educational landscapes. Misinformation. Specifically, we'll be examining the intersection of misinformation, the teaching of history, and LGBTQ plus issues. We have a remarkable panel of experts, educators, and students who are at the forefront of tackling these challenges.
Why is this so important? We're in an age where information is at our fingertips, but discerning fact from fiction has never been more vital, especially for our educators, who are charged with preparing the next generation to navigate this complex world with critical thinking skills. So let's dive into what's coming up on today's show.
In the first segment, we'll take a journey back in time to understand the roots of misinformation, particularly as it relates to the teaching of history and LGBTQ plus issues. From the erasure of significant LGBTQ plus figures to the denial or revision of key events, this is a new battle. We'll discuss landmark moments that have shaped the trajectory of these issues and provide a historical framework to better understand challenges.
As we move into the heart of our episode, we won't be sharing specific real-world stories, but rather we'll imagine fictional scenarios that represent the very real challenges faced by teachers and students in Florida. Picture this: a classroom where a teacher is wrestling with how to balance state mandates that aim to control information while also providing an accurate and inclusive account of history, or consider students collaborating to question and debunk conspiracy theories, especially those that target the LGBTQ plus community. These imagined yet realistic stories give us a lens through which we can discuss on-the-ground issues educators and students face daily.
In this segment, our panelists will offer concrete tools and strategies to design to counter misinformation and to foster more inclusive educational environment. From role-playing exercises that demystify mechanics of misinformation to using open-source educational materials that provide multiple perspectives, there's a lot to gain here. We'll talk about how these can adapt to address the unique needs and challenges of LGBTQ plus students as well.
As we wrap up, we'll engage in a future-oriented discussion, the issue of misinformation, especially as it impacts the teaching of history and LGBTQ plus issues, isn't going away overnight. But there are glimmers of hope. In this segment, we'll explore possible future scenarios where schools and teachers adapt, policy changes are made, and students become more empowered and discerning consumers of information. Now, to help us understand the complexities of what Florida teachers and students face over LGBTQ plus issues, today we draw on a large variety of talent and experiences and representation. First, this is Frank Sanchez, a teacher and Safe Schools board member. He is my anchor partner today of Safe Schools Rainbow Roundtable. Welcome, Frank.
Hi, Liz. How are you?
Hi, Frank. Good, and you?
I'm good.
Now, let's welcome Vivian Diaz. Vivian is a proud Miami-Dade County Public Schools alumni and mom of two current students. She is deeply involved in school life, dedicated to fostering inclusivity for all. Welcome, Vivian.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me, Frank and Liz. I'm very honored to be here.
We are very happy to have you.
Thank you.
Next, let's add the perspective of a journalist. This is Hatzel Vela, respected Emmy Award-winning journalist at WPLG Television ABC Local 10. He specializes in education, Latin America, and Cuba. In January 2017, Hatzel became the first local television journalist in the country to move to Cuba and cover the island from the inside. Welcome, Hatzel.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Very happy to have you here. Next, welcome the streaming television host, Tiffany Williams. She hosts Tiffany Explains It All for Safe Schools. Welcome, Tiffany.
Hi, Liz. I'm so looking forward to the discussions today.
I am too. So happy to have you, Tiffany. Next, let's welcome Harold Marrero. He is the Chief Operating Officer of Safe Schools and Executive Producer for Safe Schools Rainbow Roundtable. Welcome, Harold.
Hi, Liz and Frank. Thank you for having me on today, and I'm very excited for the conversations that we're going to have.
We're very happy to have you here, Harold. Thank you for everything.
Glad to have you.
Yeah.
And finally, let's welcome Liz Morales. Liz has been an educator for Dade County's public schools for the past 17 years and has served as the GSA sponsor for the past 14 years. Liz is a trombonist for the South Florida Pride Concert Band, where she has also served as a youth trombone coach. Liz is Vice Chair of Safe School South Florida on the Board of Directors and my co-anchor for today's Safe School Rainbow Roundtable. Welcome, Liz.
Thank you.
Thank you, panelists, for these fantastic introductions. It is clear that we have a wealth of experience and diverse perspectives here today. We traced the history and dived into imagined but realistic scenarios of present-day experiences and explored a gamut of tools and resources that can be leveraged and combat misinformation about LGBTQ issues in education. So what comes next? Let's gaze into a proverbial crystal ball and consider the future.
One optimistic trend is that young people today are generally more open-minded and accepting of LGBTQ plus individuals than previous generations. There is hope that with time, these attitudes will permeate into the policy-making echelons of our education systems. With that said, the pace of change is frustratingly slow for those who are living through the difficulties now.
Technology, too, will be an increasingly important player as digital platforms continue to evolve. The possibilities for both disseminating and debunking misinformation will grow. This double-edged sword means that education needs to keep pace and ensuring that students can critically evaluate digital information sources, especially those that discuss LGBTQ issues.
Legal changes are also on the horizon. Several states are pushing back against anti-LGBTQ plus curriculum, and the court cases challenging these policies could set significant precedents. However, as we've seen in the past, backlash often follows progress, and victories in the courtrooms don't always translate to immediate change in the classroom.
Let's also not underestimate the role of activism and student-led initiatives. Going back to our fictional Florida high school, we can imagine that students will continue to find creative ways to pull information, question the system, and demand change. They may launch petitions, organize school-wide events, or even collaborate with national campaigns aimed at fostering inclusivity and combating misinformation.
So looking forward, educators and students alike must not only adapt but anticipate. We need to prepare for upcoming challenges and be proactive in creating a more informed and inclusive future for everyone, especially for the LGBTQ plus community in educational settings. To our panelists, as we close this episode, I'd like to ask, what are some potential challenges you foresee in the near future regarding LGBTQ plus education and combating misinformation? Panel, let's delve into the future outlook. Over to you.
So for me, the biggest challenge that I see for the future of our society is going to be the rise of the continued rise of artificial intelligence and the rise of platforms that can do image manipulation and now even video manipulation. You know, there's something interesting. I follow this writer on Instagram, and he wrote this whole article on what's been happening at Burning Man. And you know, if those who don't know Burning Man, there's been a huge flooding, and there's mud and stuff like that, right? But there's this misinformation campaign that was launched that said that there was an Ebola outbreak at Burning Man, and that the CDC was responding, the military was mobilizing, and people believed that. People believed that there was an Ebola outbreak at Burning Man, and you will see the pictures, and the pictures a lot of them were altered. They showed tents outside of Burning Man, and he made a really good point. It's like right now, yes, you can look at those pictures, you can see the Ebola outbreak. You know, okay, right now it's not as bad, but a year from now they'll be able to produce video that shows the military actually mobilizing and coming into Burning Man. And you'll see more and more. It'll be grainy. It won't look good. But how many people are actually going to like, oh, let me look up this video. It looks grainy.
And how many deepfakes do we not see on Twitter?
Exactly. Yeah. And the deepfakes are only going to get worse. So you have.
They're going to get better.
They're going to better. Yeah. Right. So it works for us. Better in technology.
Unfortunately, our government or regulators are slow to catch up. So,
right.
You know, those things are happening. So things are not, you know, there's no regulation saying you can't do this. You have to put a little disclaimer. You know, like this is fake. This is not real. This is, you know, made up. And we don't have that. We don't have those laws in place to protect misinformation, because like you said, no one's gonna. Everybody's, oh, I saw it on TV. It has to be real. I saw it.
But this is where the classrooms are going to really become a place where we can filter a lot of this. And it's, yes, it's going to be up to teachers to not only learn these platforms, but also creatively encourage their students to go deeper, to not just believe what they see as fact, but become this person that continues to ask why, is this true? I don't know. Let me look at it myself. Let me find the tools that exist for me to look this up properly. And maybe it's as simple as just giving them at the beginning of the school year a list of websites they can go to counter the misinformation. Like or put it up on the board, put it up on the screen, put it up somewhere that has like not everything you read might not be true. Here's where you can go and check it out. Here's a website you can go and look at this. Don't trust Wikipedia. Trust this source. Just teaching kids how to do their own research, because I think that's important. And it won't happen Vivian is very lucky. You're very fortunate, and what you're doing is great. But not every parent is doing that.
The ability to do so, and it's a lot about media literacy that has to come from the schools, teaching kids how to discern and figure out what social, like what accounts, what newspapers, what news organizations, and even then you still have to do your research, even if you're getting something from the New York Times, even if you're getting something from CNN, MSNBC, which are, now they have more of a perspective. But learning that, and on top of that, is not just trusting the white heteronormative news organizations, also trying to delve into to alternative news sources that represent LGBTQ or African American studies or Latinos or Latino and Latina studies and articles, so that we're not just getting one country's perspective of the news, we get everyone else's perspective on the news. But it has a lot to do with, I think, learning how to discern where that information is coming from, where you can verify that information, how you can make sure that you're not being tricked into believing something that's simply not true. So that's very important.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what you said is right. I mean, you have to, even with official media, you have to check nowadays what is being said is accurate. So if there's a quote from Tiffany saying she said this, well, make sure that you check another website to make sure that Tiffany indeed said that, and then why not just call Tiffany?
Right.
Right? What's up, Tiffany? Did you really say that? No, I mean, I think it's important.
Like it happened to you.
Yeah, with Miss Muller, she's like, that's not a real quote.
Yeah.
And I learned my lesson. Don't quote my friends. Don't say that because they will betray me. Yeah. But maybe it's as simple as just having the school curriculum changed to have a whole course on media literacy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're doing that. And by the time we catch up, we would have lost the conversation.
I think I learned about media because I was lucky enough to be in newspaper, to be in TV production. That was more hyper-focused on journalism and using those tactics and using how to figure out what's right and what's wrong and how to get quotes, how to attribute, how to figure out how it's being attributed and things like that. So, I mean, that was my personal experience was because of that. Not everybody gets that.
Yeah, and me too. And after I did that mistake of quoting my friend, I never did it again because I felt so bad. And I couldn't write for a month. So it's like...
I mean, I feel like, yes. Do I feel like as technology is going to keep advancing, it's, again, what you just said, that's nothing surprising especially with AI on the rise, and it's just going up. There is no going back, it's just forward. So again, we're going to come to a point where then schools are going to be like this, like, is that actually factual? Like, what was really happening? Because I've had so many videos from like Instagram and TikTok of my parents sending me. They're like, can you believe this? And I see it and I can tell that it's a fake, but they don't know. And I tell them, I'm like, this isn't real. And they're like, no, but it is because it's online. I'm like, that is not how that works. That is not how that works. And so like, it is a double-edged sword because it is so powerful. Like I said earlier that, on social media where you can't talk about it in certain situations, certain topics. You can't talk in like maybe group settings at school or at work, but you could talk about it online. But again, you also have people that are against the thing that you're talking about and trying to normalize that. They're like, well, because I don't like that, I'm going to say everything up the wazoo to like basically throw you off and be like, no, but did you know this? And it's like, there is, again, just that media like cognizance of just like, again, I feel like people are so easy to just believe the first thing they see and not even stop
absolutely.
and be like, wow, is that really true? To go online.
Yep.
Or
And it's
Double check.
and
Double
it's
checking.
not even new. Like I had when Malaysian Airlines went missing, I had a friend that she came and she showed me this post that had someone in Malaysian Airlines had a camera and they captured the harrowing moments of the end. And when you look at the picture, yes, you see a plane breaking up in midair. Now, Malaysian Airlines were missing at night, but this all of a sudden this plane was in daytime. And then when you look at the tail, it's like, oh, Oceania Airlines. Wait a second, this is from Lost. And I'm like, yes, and I'm like, and I told her like, this is not MH9 whatever tail number it was. It's not Malaysian Airlines. This is the plane from Lost. Like, why are you sharing this? She's like, oh my gosh, I had no idea, but she kept sharing it. I'm like, come on.
Like,
It's tough.
As a teacher who gets homework assignments from students who clicked on the first link,
Link, yeah.
it's like
The advertising link.
and it's wrong, because it's this very generic information, and like I know where you went. This is not correct. This is not this is not right. I tell you need to figure out if that is the right information, or go click on a couple of things
Yeah.
to see if this is the same information or I'm getting different information. Try and figure out, because today it's just like maybe because it's homework and they don't care. It's just like I just need to get it done. Click to copy paste, move on, and that's what they do. And I was like, no, you need to put it in your own words. And so the fact that teaching media literacy and questioning what you read is very important, because they don't. They just take it as I told my kids actually recently, because we were talking about book banning in Holocaust. And like and eugenics, people trust people in authority.
Mm-hmm.
I told my students, I could be telling you anything, and because I'm the teacher, you're gonna think that it's correct. Because you read it in the book, you're gonna think this is correct. You can go to a doctor, and the doctor can give you this information. The doctor is telling you this. And you say, well, that's what the doctor said. Well, that's where you get a second opinion to see if it matches. And if multiple people say it's right, okay, then go. But I think we need to do a better job at clicking other sites and not just the first one. And I'm guilty of it. I mean, I know I should stay away from Wikipedia, but every once in a while,
But you source
Yeah.
But
I will go to Wikipedia, and I know Wikipedia and the weaknesses, but all right, I just need. And so we use it, but we need to click on more sources and fact check, because that's what you do.
Yeah.
That's what you do. You fact check. I count on hats on the reports. Like, this is the information I got. They're telling me what it is, because that's their job. And like, okay.
Yeah, but you know what? There's also like I've seen it that people are now starting to get that second opinion in different little like subsections, So it's like it's happening, but it's happening so slowly that you're like, okay, we need to like advance it like about maybe 20, maybe 100 steps forward, just to catch up with all the lies.
Yeah.
And
like you said, by the time we catch up, we've lost.
We lost it.
And we all know that if a lie gets repeated enough time,
It becomes
truth to those people. And to get them to change their mind is virtually impossible. So now all those people that have been lost, like, what do we do now?
Yeah, and I think that as a society, we got so caught up on trying to bring in both sides of the conversation into it, that even with climate change, we allowed one scientist to be that person that said, I'm going to go against the 99 and 100 science, I'm going to go against the other 99 and be like, but guys, it's not real. And we gave them a platform. We put them up in our news media. We started to hear about it. We allowed a certain minority part of our country to push doubt, because that one scientist, who probably wasn't even a scientist, probably not even a real person, that one scientist said that maybe it's not real. And that just keeps happening
they latch
across the
onto
board.
it.
And they latch onto it. But we continue to give them platforms. And I think that as a free society, yes, you can say whatever you want, but you shouldn't have a national platform to spread misinformation, spread falsehood.
Yeah, I mean, but it's not a new story. I mean, I remember hearing that autism was caused by getting vaccines in a certain order, and it was it's been debunked
Over and over
again, and people still no, I can't get these vaccines in this order because what if? And like, there's no what if. The study was debunked, and it was a bad study. It was he used very limited information. It was just horrible. The guy was even kicked out of the medical association because of it. And so we gave them a platform. Then people ran with it. It's like, oh, this is it. Sorry, but like, no.
To this day,
And
when my son got diagnosed, I had people tell me, "Oh, it's because you gave him a vaccine," and I'm like, "No, it's not. He's autistic because that's how he was. That's how he was born. That's who he is, and he's perfect." No matter what. And that's why, and like, that's when people are like, oh, he can't be autistic. Look at him. He's so verbal. He's so this, he's so that. That doesn't matter. He's still autistic. Yeah. There's so, like, I'm not even going to get touched.
That's a whole different topic. But it comes to the whole misinformation. It comes to the whole getting people to check their resources and check where they find it and, notate. So.